Let's see. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, Judy, how you doing?
Oh, just Ducky.
Ah,
Can you hear me?
that's my
I
saying.
can hear you now.
I can hear you, Garth.
Thank you.
Paul, have you been home all week now? Are you still
No, I'm
running?
not home right now.
Ah, that's what I thought.
Oh.
Hi, Hugh. We'll give it a couple more minutes and see if we get some more people. We don't have enough people yet. I know Jesse got called out on storm.
Yeah, it got a little windy today.
Yeah. Yeah, he just got called out a couple minutes ago. That's why I was a little slower than normal. I was talking to him.
You got a couple minutes anyway, so.
Hi,
Hi, Angie.
Judy. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Angie.
Kiara? I got no
Am I
sound.
there?
Yes.
Hi, Sherry.
Everybody's here. I just can't hear them.
We can hear
too,
you, Sherry.
except for she can't hear us.
Can't
say that
apparently
we
hear
can hear
us,
you.
so. Let me see.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Good. Ready to do it right here? Yeah. Push it all the way up.
I just have to complain that my daughter spilled yogurt on my Board of Finance info. So now all my pages are stuck together.
Sure.
Okie dokie.
What
then.
happened to the dog ate it?
No. Dogs are
dumped
less
coffee
trouble
all
than
over.
kids.
My cat hit the coffee all over mine one night. Hi, Valerie. Okay. Nope, somebody's dinging.
Someone's getting out of their car.
So it sounds.
The microwave's done. Something's ready.
Thought my mic was turned off. I guess I'll turn it off now.
Hello there, Neil.
How are you, Sherry?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken. Hi,
Yeah, we can
Sherry.
hear you.
Just sure my mic was on.
No, we could hear you before, but you couldn't hear us, so we heard you say, whatever it was. It's always a mystery.
Okay.
I was on
Okay.
a meeting, a work meeting, and I was on mute. So when I came off mute, I told everybody that, oh, I just stay on mute so you can't hear me swearing. And I don't think they really picked up on it, actually. Okay, no problem.
Okay, I haven't heard from John Kopek, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 7:03. Okay, we're going to do roll call. Say if you're here for the regular members. Angie DeSanto.
I'm here.
Garth Bean.
Here.
Paul Varga.
Here,
Jesse Burnham. John Kopek. Okay, so we're going to do alternates. Esther Jagodzinski. Hugh McKenzie.
here.
Hugh, Jesse said to seat you for him,
Okay, glad to.
and Christina Davis.
Here.
Okay. Christina, you'll be seated for John, I guess. He's not here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see. Communications. I don't have any communications. Does anybody else have communications? Nobody? All right.
I haven't received anything, Judy.
Yeah, I have not yet either. I'm expecting this next week, well, next couple of weeks will be pretty busy. Is somebody speaking? Okay. So we have public comments. And you'll have 3 minutes if you want to make a public comment. Janet Bellamy.
Hi, thank you. Hi, everyone. I have a question about the piece that was put in the April Citizen with an example of a house that was with its reappraisal and what would happen with the mill rate. And the house that the example they gave, the appraisal went up from around 120,000 to 177,000. So it went up by 47%. And I was just wondering if is that representative of what's going on in our town? What's the average increase?
So that's why I put the calculator in there, was so that people could go online and see how it affects them personally. It's really hard to get an average because not everybody owns property and it's based on different locations. So there's variables to how much it's gone up. To answer your question on that particular one, that would be my house on Route 89.
Hey, Judy, can I just, I think, and Bill, I see you're here, maybe you can correct me, but that's a little above the average for the town. But that's really an assessor question, not a Board of Finance question.
Well,
Correct.
How much
I,
the appraisals went, or the assessments went up?
I understand that. I live in the Lake District where the assessments were supposed to have gone up higher, and mine went up about 18%. So I was just
Yeah, I
I was
think the
just really-
average was 19. Is that right, Bill?
I'm sorry, I don't have the sheet in front of me. I believe I read it off at the last Board of Finance meeting, the averages that I got from the assessor, but the average residential was 20%. The average commercial, if I recall right, was about 19. The exception to the residential were lakefronts, which increased anywhere from 40 to 50% throughout the town. But the assessor does have more specific averages on that, and I'll try to get that posted. Just about that calculator, I know Judy had put it up on her website there. It's also on our Facebook webpage, as well as our website with the town. It's on the front page. And if you don't have your last year's evaluation or this year's handy, just call either the tax collector or the assessor's office in the morning, and they'll be happy to supply those to you. My house went up about 22%, in my calculation.
I would just like to suggest in the future that it might be a good idea to give several examples rather than one that's at the higher end that will probably alarm a lot of people. So thank you.
It was my example that I had, and it was just informing people of where to go to find out that information for themselves. I mean, if they're alarmed and they go in there and they look to see what theirs is and it's not so bad, that's fine. I don't think it makes a bit of difference.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Okay.
Well, there's one additional thing that people might not consider. I don't know if we consider it. If your assessment went up by more than you think, it could be that the prior assessment was a little lower than we always think, oh, it's higher than it should be. It could be that the prior assessment was a little lower than it should have been. So the difference is part of making up for that. Could be.
Yeah, we could make assumptions about whatever it is, but I mean, the fact is that's what it was. That's what I had for an example. That's what I gave. All right, so moving on, approval of regular meeting minutes from March 17th. Does anybody want a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve them. Paul Varga.
I'll second the motion, Christina.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Paul. Any discussion?
I didn't have any edits at all.
You said you didn't have any edits?
Correct, yeah, nothing to comment.
Okay, so all those in favor to approve the minutes of the
Aye.
special meeting?
Angie's anxious. Aye, Paul.
Yeah, I'm marking this day on my calendar. Christina had no edits. Good, there we go.
Aye, Judy. Garth?
Yes, aye.
And let's see, Hugh, you'll abstain because you weren't here.
Correct.
And I think I have to abstain because I don't think I was seated at last meeting.
You were there.
I was at the meeting, but I wasn't seated. So I don't know if I can vote.
I bet you can because you were there and you're seated now. Not that I know.
What do you know, Garth?
Not much. We all know that.
I think to abstain would be fine. It
Okay.
still would pass with 3-2.
Okay, so I abstain.
All right. Selectmen's update, Mr. Folletti, you're on.
Good evening, everybody. I'll be brief. Not necessarily related to finance matters, but I know your members like to keep updated. That 2008 truck that's in our budget to be replaced is down again. It's just been going on for the past couple of years. Now we've got an electrical problem, and I've sent it to the shop. Our line item for repairs is over on our Public Works Department. And hopefully for your next meeting, perhaps not for the public hearing, but I'll have a list of line items that by necessity are running over for your consideration at the end of the year adjustments. I'll have that to you. Our COVID situation here in town continues to improve. CDC on a national level has us in the lowest category, which is low. On a state basis, the state health department has us in the same category. And our Northeast, our health department here, Eastern Highland, has us in a grade period. And our numbers continue to be extremely low. I think last week we had 2, the week before that we had 0. So things are going well that way. On a community basis, I'm advised that we had a very successful road cleanup, our first one in the year with about 20 volunteer participants. And I congratulate all of those and much appreciated that participated. We'll keep you posted. We are trying to put out feelers and come up with a program we're going to call Adopt a Road. And so if you didn't feel like cleaning neighbors' roads, perhaps you'd be interested in adapting your road and helping on some sort of a regular basis. And again, thank you to all that participated. We're making preparations for Memorial Day celebrations, an acknowledgement, of course, of our veterans. And any of you folks, if you know of anybody, please pass the word. We're looking for volunteers to help with that. We've got several so far, but more the merrier. And with that, I'll pass it back to our chairman, Judy. Thanks, Judy.
You're welcome. Thank you for the update. I see, John, you have come in. Are you still there? John Kopek? Nope.
I think he's muted.
I'm here, sorry. Had to find the
Oh.
button.
Okay, I'm gonna seat you and unseat Christina.
75.
Okay,
I didn't see you before. I didn't see when you came in. I'm sorry.
I just got
I
here a couple
apologize,
minutes ago.
Christina. Okay. New business, oh, Sherry. So recreational department budget discussion.
Judy, if I could just comment before Sherry jumps in. I had mentioned at the request, I believe it was Paul Varga last week, and Sherry has been able to join us, of course, and she will address some issues within her line items and differences and increases. However, I did mention that there was an HR situation that resulted in an increase in salaries. And I mentioned that I thought perhaps we could go into executive session. I'm advised that at this time, since there's still a couple of open ends of that I can't do that. But that does account for some of the increase in that particular line item in order to bring the salary up to where we felt it should have been back a couple of years ago.
Is that for the part-time or for,
That's actually for Sherry's position.
that's a 26,000?
I believe it's more than that. Are you talking about the line item number?
Yeah, I gotta find it before I misspeak here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but
Judy, there's no part-time salary in my department. It's just my wages as director.
So there's no part-time, so that money would go to the director? Is that what it is?
it's more than 26,000.
Yeah. I just gotta find it. I remember seeing it and going, oh.
Sherry, I know we went over that there a couple of days ago, but I've been having some technical problems here. I just don't have it in front of me, but I believe it's more in the area of 48,000 to 51,000, something like that.
Yes, that's correct, Bill. So should I start now or?
Yeah,
Um,
I think the
sure.
floor is yours, Sherry, now that I said my piece.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to meet with you this evening. I brought my budget and Paul and he had asked me to do a brief presentation, which I'm happy to do. Basically, the Park and Rec budget, this is the narrative on it, which runs about 5 pages. And then there is this spreadsheet. I believe you all have that in front of you. But the Park and Rec budget is primarily broken down into 3 areas, and that's programs, administration, and grounds. And what those mean are the programs are pretty self-explanatory. It's everything it costs or takes for us to run our programs. It could be equipment, it could be supplies, it includes instructors, and those kinds of expenses. Then in administration, that encompasses everything that it takes to run my office. And the expenses that go with that, office supplies and mileage, membership, copier supplies, my salary, those kind of items all fall under administration. And then the third area we call grounds, or really it's like parks maintenance, everything that it takes to maintain the 2 parks in town, Pompey Hollow Park and Ashford Memorial Park. The biggest line item in parks is mowing. It also includes not just mowing, but it also includes reseeding or fertilizer in there. And as I think you know, Joe Kalinowski has, or I should say Kalinowski Landscaping has held that contract for us for several years now, and he will continue to this year and does a nice job for us. And also is quite reasonably priced. We know that other bidders who look at the job are
original that you can share with us? Definitely.
Excuse me, whoever has their mic on, could you please shut it off? Thank you.
The other area in our grounds budget that surprisingly went up in the last year and a half through, I call it COVID times, was our portalet expense. The company we had got sold to another company, and we noticed some increases. And so last year we started shopping around for portalet companies, and what we discovered is that they've all gone up quite a bit. So in terms of the numbers on that line item, you can see it in rentals. It's about 5 from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the bottom. That's what our portalets are. A year ago, we spent 1,410. We had only budgeted 1,200. And so we bumped that up to 1,500 because they're more expensive. One cost that we have found with it is the former company used to allow us to stop service in November and start it again in April. The current company and all the others require that you either pay a pickup fee and then a drop-off fee again in the spring, or that you pay $20 a month per unit to leave it there. And so we did do some cost comparison and shopping around, and I don't know if because in COVID times, the parks were a lot busier and people were doing more things outside, but there was certainly a greater demand for portalets, and the costs are going up there. Those are in every other area in our budget. We plan to hold the line. We have not had significant increases in our budget in many years. But what we're looking at this year is a salary issue for me. I know Bill's going to address this at some point in time, but my pay was cut during COVID times and we're looking to get it. It has been reinstated now. I did receive a paycheck today that was the amount that it should be. But that's where you'll see the increases in the recreation budget. It's on the rec director's salary line. One other thing I wanted to talk about some in terms of our programs is what we were able to do the last year for programs and what we weren't able to do. And here it is on page 4 in the budget. In 2021, the pandemic restrictions made it so that we were unable to run our summer day camp, our gymnastics program, and our girl power fitness camp. We did not have Family Day or the Labor Day 5K road race. Arts and crafts programs and indoor pickleball or bus trips were not offered. In the last year, we have been able to offer yoga, Tai Chi, outdoor pickleball, swim lessons, our summer bike camp, summer basketball, a high school girls volleyball clinic. The first year of COVID, we did 3 concerts. Last year, we were able to do 5. We did have our camp out, Start Smart Soccer, Halloween party, our turkey trot, a tour of holiday lights, our carol sing, and ice skating. Wham soccer did run in the fall, and Ashford baseball and softball did run in the spring. So a lot of the time during COVID, we were looking for creative ways to do a lot more things outside. And we came up with quite a few. So that just gives you an idea programmatically of what we were and weren't able to do in the past 2 years. I call it 2 years now because COVID actually started, in March of 2020. That is pretty much what I wanted to cover and make sure you all were aware of. Oh, I also needed to let you know that we are excited. I'm delighted with how our programs are coming back this year. We just had our best basketball numbers ever, even way pre-COVID and all. We ended up with 14 teams. This year, we did co-sponsor the high school teams with Willington, so we are sharing the income, expense, and profit there. But our numbers for basketball came back great. In fact, we took in over $10,000 in basketball income this winter. I was just helping teach gymnastics today. We filled the program. We were offering it on one day, Tuesdays, and we filled that up with 20 kids, and I had another 20 on a wait list. And so we were able to respond to that need and open another day of gymnastics. We're about to start swimming lessons next week, and I'm hoping that the numbers and the trends continue to look so good, and we may actually, keep our fingers crossed, we may actually be on target to hit our $35,000 in income this fiscal year as projected. That's our average of what we take in programs. So I'm hoping we're at 24,000 right now. I'm hoping that by the end of the year, we could actually hit that number and say, you know, we're back. Of course, it's difficult to anticipate and know exactly how people are going to respond and what they are and aren't going to do. But we certainly are feeling the effects in a very positive way of COVID, hopefully coming to an end or certainly winding way down. Does anyone have any questions for me, or would anyone like an explanation of any part of our budget, or what else could we talk about?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Angie. How
Hi,
are you?
Sherry. Do you know when the pickleball courts are going to be done?
We don't know for sure yet, and maybe Bill has a little more information than I do, but if you do, Bill, go ahead and pipe in. I know that the project was approved by Capital Improvements, and I believe the next step is actually to choose a vendor, choose which bid we're going to go with, and then it would be to get on their schedule. I do want to push for that, Angie, because I know that some of those contractors can get real busy in the summer months. They have to get their work done in those good weather months. And we would certainly hope to get it done this summer.
Great, thanks.
Am I on target with that, Bill, as far as you know?
Yeah, if I could just comment, Angie, we have run that by our capital improvements committee, who are actually wearing another hat and being so kind to help us with some of our projects that we intend on applying through ARPA funds. That's one of them. We've checked with a number of municipalities and Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. We feel that that funding will be able to be sourced through ARPA. What the Board of Selectmen, our intention is within the next 30 days, hopefully sooner, we're going to be having a public hearing on all of the items that we're going to be recommending to be paid for with ARPA funds. Within 2 weeks after that, calling a town meeting for a formal vote. The pickleball courts are one of the top 3 priorities to try to get done this season. And that's what we're trying to do. We've got a couple of other safety issues also under ARPA, like enhancement of the front of the Knowlton Hall. We've got some pretty severe tripping situations there. We're going to be doing that in front. That's a legitimate process through ARPA. And but anyway, pickleball is on our radar, and it's going to be among the first that we're hoping to get that bid out. We've already got 3 bids on it, so we're in good shape with that. It was real tough, and I appreciate Sherry's efforts on getting that 3rd one. It wasn't easy, but we're ready to go on that.
Thanks, you guys. That's fabulous.
So Sherry, did I hear you right? You weren't getting paid for how long?
My pay was cut in July 2020 and then cut again in January of 2021.
So by cut again, was it like cut just July or July through January 2021?
July through January, and then January through 2 weeks ago.
And you were still able to do all these programs even though you weren't getting paid?
I got paid. It was just a cut.
Just a cut.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more question. I'm looking at the audit report for last year, and it had negative funding balance of 7,222, which it says will be restored in the future charges for services or transfers from the general fund. Was there a reason we went over budget during that year? Do you know?
I'm not sure what numbers you're talking about, Judy. Can you run those by me again?
Okay, so it's from the town audit book. It's in
Okay.
the annual financial statements. It says that the recreational fund has a negative fund balance of $7,222, which will be restored through future charges for services or transfers from the general fund.
I
Are
don't
you
know
aware of going over now? Okay.
No. What year was that?
So this was for this past audit for June 30th, 2021.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, because I know that, with COVID and stuff, I don't understand how that could happen, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah, we had 1 year in there where we took in very little income. That's why I'm so excited to have it coming back so nicely this year. I don't know if it's related to that, but obviously in those, I call it quiet times of COVID, if our income was down, so was our expenses. For example, if we're not running any programs, then we're also not paying any instructors or not spending on supplies or any of that. But I don't know specifically about the $7,000 you're talking about.
Okay. Well, I lied. I got one more question.
Mhm.
So this year, so 2022, there was a budget for the rec fund in the, this is in the budget request for the town. The budget request is 87,198, but it's gone up 26,000. Is that because of your salary?
No, Judy, something's off there. I'm showing here in 21, the audited number was 79,000 and that we're going up to 87,000. And the increase in my salary, last year's salary was 42,000. That was the cut. It was at 48, it went down to 42. We're now asking for 51.
Yeah,
So
because I don't
that would
understand
only
it.
reflect about $9,000, not 26,000. So
Yeah, so the budget that was presented to us, it has audited actuals as 79,306.
Yeah.
And then it has 2022 budget 87,198. And now it has Board of Selectmen has submitted 103,156. So it's gone up $26,000.
From 21, Judy, though.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, so, because I'm looking at the same numbers, I wrote it down. So
Sorry.
last year, I think that's what's confusing, Sherry. Last year, from 21 to 22, it went up 78.92, just under 8,000. And this year, from 22 to 23, it's 15,968, so 16,000.
and that's those two numbers together or how you're getting 26?
26, yeah. Total, between 21 and 23.
Yeah.
So, what was your question, Judy?
No, I was just wondering why it went
Okay.
up so much.
Because if I may, Judy,
Go ahead.
that was my question / comment was, you said that the rec department's budget hasn't increased substantially. And so from 21 to 22, it was a 10% increase. And the reason that I asked for you to come and explain things and even foregoing the salary part, from 22 to 23, it's an 18.3% increase. So that's pretty substantial. If we take out the salary increase, which I don't want to get into because I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but or put anybody on the spot either. But even if half of that is that fix, if you will, that's a 9% increase. And We asked, we even had the library here who had a zero. They held the line on their budget and we asked them a bunch of questions. So, and I am concerned about that negative fund balance of 7,000 and change. Because if it did occur during that 20 to 21 timeframe and you didn't have programs running, I realize you didn't have income or revenue coming in because you didn't have programs running. But then if you didn't have programs running, then there should have been less expense. And obviously, I don't know how long that's carried forward. I didn't go back to the previous audit. I didn't have time today.
Yeah.
I need to research that, but still there's a negative $7,000 number in your budget or in your fund.
I would like further clarification on it too, Paul, because I don't have the answers for you. All I know is that we put in, you know, a little bit more in parks maintenance to cover those portalets and mowing that I talked about. The only thing in administration is my salary. And
well, don't forget when you're
in the benefits area. Has
right.
anybody?
When I was going to say when your salary goes up, that it changes things too. And also there's an increase in insurance no matter what. That's out of our control. That you know, we all jump up and down about that all the time. That's out of anybody's control. So it's a large increase and you know. I do have a couple other questions. So the first one is, obviously you charge for programs. So are there programs that the rec department does? I know the concerts are free. Are there other things they do, or is everything else a pay to play, so to speak?
Nope. I'm just going to read this, Paul, so that I don't miss any of them. Okay.
Go ahead. I probably read it and can't remember.
Okay. Ice skating, summer concerts, family day, our Halloween party, and the carol sing. These programs are free or nominally priced and are eagerly anticipated and well received, and have become a great part of APRC's tradition that promote community spirit. So those are free to the community programs.
Okay. And on the lawn mowing thing, does that go out to bid on a regular basis, or is that like a couple-year contract? Or
yeah, few-year contract. About every 3 years we recheck it, and we're always really happy if Joe bids it again because he's significantly lower than the other bidders.
okay, and then my last question for you is, how many hours do you spend in the office, and then versus how many hours do you think you actually work during the week?
Well, like I said, our programs have come back full bore recently, and so I have been working the full 35 hours a week. I'm probably in the office about 20 of those, and then out at the parks, or today running gymnastics and on site for programs. One of the ways we save some money with our programs is if I participate or lead in some ways, like, for example, with our basketball program this winter, I'm the on-site supervisor, and I also refereed 26 third and fourth grade basketball games this winter.
Yeah, somebody told me today that you do a bunch of the basketball stuff, so I couldn't chase those kids around anymore, Sherry.
Well, I said third and fourth grade. I'm definitely not going up any higher than that. They're too fast.
Think that's it for me. So thank you, Judy. Thank you, Sherry.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Bill,
Paul.
I see your hands up. Go ahead, Bill. You got to turn on your mic.
Sorry. Over the past couple of years, and I know everybody's aware of this, you want to remind, there was a good chunk of that time when Sherry was not allowed to come into the office because of COVID.
I was considered a non-essential employee and asked to not come in, I'm going to say it was the first year, May and June.
And regarding the deficit in that, Judy and Paul, and well, all of you folks, I'll try to get a more definitive readout on that and share it with everybody. I've got a feeling a lot of it was on the, I'm not sure how the bottom line was tabulated, but I believe that the revenue side of that had a big influence on that over the past 2 years.
Okay. Christina?
First, Sherry, I'm just really glad to hear that the participation is coming back, and thank you for opening a second section of gymnastics, because my daughter did benefit from that. And I have heard from multiple people that are very excited about the pickleball courts. Well, I myself don't play pickleball. I've heard it from multiple people that they're excited about that. I did just want to check and make sure I heard this correctly. So Joe Kalinowski has the mowing contract. Is that the same person who runs the Department of Public Works for the town?
It is.
Okay. So why doesn't the Public Works just do the mowing for the parks? Why is it like broken out like that?
It's always been a separate contract, and then he bids it as a private contractor. And I know part of the reason is that he has the better equipment to do it than what the town has.
Bill?
Yeah, Christina, that's I am of the impression that Joe's mowing career probably may not extend past the next year. And that's one of the things I'm looking at, is including some services in seeing if we can, I'm hoping not to have to buy a lot of extra equipment, but incorporate all of our mowing, including our cemeteries, and that through our Public Works Department. We presently contract out all our cemeteries also for mowing. Unfortunately, when the mowing is going on, it's during our busiest time of the year with road repairs and everything, and that may have something to do with that. Joe does that mowing not during town time, when he's working for his own company.
Okay. Anybody else have questions?
Christine. I've wondered that too, or when we've looked at it. It's a good question.
I can tell you that the equipment is expensive. So it, for the town to purchase it, it would probably be expensive, and then sit a lot, because we only have a small amount, where if you contract it out to somebody who does it, they do multiple lawns. I mean, for instance, I don't know how many people on here have their lawns done. I do not. I have 2 kids. That's what they're for. But there's a large number of lawn maintenance contractors, and that's why, because some of the lawn equipment is really expensive. And then of course it requires maintenance as well. So.
Bill, my understanding with it too, having worked with some of the mowing contractors, they really like a job like Ashford Memorial Park that's wide open, bring their mower down there, that zero gravity thing, and they can go back and forth really quickly, and they like that job. But they are not going to like your cemetery job, where they have to go around 50 gravestones or whatever's there. So just something to consider as we look for contractors or figure out what to do in the future. I know that the cemeteries are a lot of work, and that they like the wide open mowing a lot better.
Bill, I have a question that maybe you can answer. Has any of the COVID money gone to the rec committee for like the portalets and stuff like that? Can we, because I keep asking about, line items, what we've spent the COVID money on. And we haven't really gotten anything yet. I'm talking to you, Bill. Turn on your mic. Turn on your mic, Bill.
Excuse me. None of the money has gone directly to the Rec Commission for that. However, several of the projects that I was mentioning to Christine and Matt, are designated for rec. The pickleball court is probably the biggest project. We've got on our list of fundable through ARPA, new fencing down at Ashford Memorial Park, between some of the fields and that. We do intend on, and a number, it's not only our community, a number of the communities have been itemizing money out for improvements to the rec facilities. And we intend on doing that. For actual operations, no, none has been designated. And I just happened to put a list together yesterday, and we're fine tuning it, but I gotta be glad to go over it with you at another time, Judy, about what we've spent already in ARPA funds and what we've so far designated to be spent.
Okay, yeah, because it
That's
wasn't.
all
part of the
we're gonna
budget.
all make that, available to the public, of course, at this public meeting that I referenced earlier.
Yeah,
When
because
will
I
that
noticed that
meeting
it
be,
wasn't
Bill?
mentioned in the budget.
Right, we look at that as being an outside funding source. That's not in the budget itself.
But wasn't there another fund besides the ARPA? Wasn't there a separate fund?
There was a CARES Act,
Yes.
and I don't have a list. It wasn't done during my administration, but
Yeah, I know.
we can ask for a list on that.
Yeah, I would like to see that if possible. I know I've
There's-
asked a couple times.
There's also another one, and I was just on a seminar yesterday about it, with the Infrastructure Act that's pending and just coming out of Washington. And we're starting to get details on that. I know we were anticipating doing broadband through our ARPA funds. And now we're being told probably it makes more sense to hold off until we have the infrastructure, because it's one of their priorities. So it's a matter of, identifying which of these different funding sources we can use for what projects. That's why it's been a little more complicated than one would think it would be.
Yeah, I have one more question about that. I'm sorry to go a little bit off track here, but for the ARPA funds that we're looking at, the capital projects, some of those projects like go out for years, like 3 or 4 years. Are those ARPA funds enough to cover those 3 or 4 years in projects for like purchasing a truck and the paver and et cetera?
Well, I think the truck we already did, and we was approved at town meeting, that was spent this year already. We already wrote the check on that. As I understand the ARPA funds, we have 2 years to define what we're going to be expending on. Clock started ticking last year on the first year, and we have 4 years to spend the monies.
So did we figure out that the total of the ARPA funds are going to cover us for those capital projects, or?
For what we're proposing, we're covered, and we have and don't hold me to the figure, these are unaudited figures, and they're being worked as we speak on a daily basis. As you know, the total ARPA funding for the town of Ashford was 1.260, I think, million. And right now, all of the projects that we've designated as potentials, my last recollection is we've committed about 800,000 of that, give or take.
Okay.
There's
Sorry,
several
Sherry.
things in there that normally we wouldn't consider under a grant fund. But because of an exception under ARPA, because of our identified revenue losses of $1,020,000 last year, there's a definition that they've come up with called government services. And that's why you see on our projections, we've moved the bus purchase over to ARPA and a couple of other smaller items. And we intend on doing that at least for this year and next year.
Okay. Anybody have any more questions for Sherry?
I do.
Hi,
You. Hi,
Okay, go ahead.
About
I
the
don't
portal
think we have met before, have we?
Maybe not.
Okay. Anyway, nice to meet you.
Thanks. You say that now. Nice to meet you too. You think I'm joking? Stick around. About the portalets.
Yeah,
Have you looked into? How many do you use in the course of a summer
2.
or season? 2? Has the
We have
town
one
looked
at
in-
Pumpy Hollow Park near the tennis court and one at Ashford Memorial Park.
Has the town looked into purchasing portalets and having them serviced instead of renting them? Would they save money in the long run?
That is an avenue I did not pursue.
Why not?
I didn't think that owning them was an option.
You could probably find some gently used ones around for not too much. You could call
will
them
check
COVID collection centers or something. Aren't they tapping wastewater now to look for COVID? Maybe get some of those ARPA funds to cover it.
I will check that out. I would be happy to check that out and see if we might.
Please do.
I think the service contract is the expensive part, them coming out.
Right, but still, like if we purchased and then serviced in the long run, it could be cheaper. I don't know either. I'd appreciate it if you look into it. Thank you.
I will.
I mean, they look virtually indestructible. They're just plastic. They seem indestructible.
Yes.
So for the occasional tipping every now and then.
Right.
perhaps. Thank you.
Yes.
Does anybody else have any more questions for Sherry?
I'd just
you know,
like to
you got
say,
your hand up.
I'd just like to say we're in a public environment here that I know I've been dealing with and familiar with Sherry's work for a number of years, and I appreciate her dedication and the time she does put in. I know from time to time, people have concerns about her being in the office or not, but I know anytime I've called her 7 days a week, 24 hours a day on emergencies or whatever, she's there and spending a lot more time attending to recreational matters with our children than I think any of us are aware of. But thank you, Sherry.
Thank you,
Bill.
Bill.
Sherry, thanks for being such a good sport. You did an awesome job. Thank you for all you do.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next item is general budget discussion.
Judy, could I just go
Oh.
back to one item that we were talking
Sure.
about?
Go ahead.
Janet had a couple of questions about reval, and I found my paperwork, Janet. Overall, there were 36 communities that did a reval this past year, 2021. And the figures that I read off at the last Board of Finance meeting are averages actually, and I've asked for a report on the other 36, but there were 3 towns in our area that did reval, which included Columbia and Woodstock. Our averages were, and these averages have dropped down a couple of decimal points because of the Board of Assessment Appeals final hearings. And I got some adjusted figures, but these are still well within the ballpark. Real estate averages, on an average, townwide, were 19%. Motor vehicle townwide, 27% increase. Personal property, 4%. Overall, a 19% reval. Columbia, their real estate went up 16.84%. Their motor vehicle went up 17.72. Their personal property went up 2.73. Their average was 16.58% overall. Woodstock, their real estate values went up 30%. Their motor vehicle went up 30%. And their real property, personal property went up 3.65. Their average was 29.20. So we certainly don't put any of these figures out to alarm anybody, but we go by calculated averages that we get from our assessor, and the averages that I just stated. And I believe they may be on her website, but they are what they are. Thanks, Judy.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm just searching the crew here to see if anybody has anything to say. All right. Okay, so we're getting to number 8, the general budget discussion. Anybody have any questions or concerns of what's going on, or any second thoughts? I certainly do, but I'll wait and see if there's any other opinions yet.
Yeah,
Anybody have any-
Judy, that was on there because I figured with the rec department that people would be talking about numbers to begin with, so to make sure that we covered ourselves.
Yes,
That's why that's in there.
okay.
I have a question, Judy.
Go ahead.
I've also been asked to be at the Board of Education, so if I leave you guys after this discussion, don't take it personally. They are voting on their budget recommendations tonight. I'm not sure how you're going to deal with that if they come up with recommendations different from what you requested the last time, which I believe was to come in at a 4.2% increase.
Mhm.
Has
Yeah.
anybody given any thought how that's going to be addressed or what the mechanism of that's going to be?
What do you, I'm not sure I understand. Can you repeat that?
Your board made a request to the Board of Education to reduce their 5.2% proposed increase based on their last presentation to you to
Correct.
4.2%. The Board of Education, as far as I know, has not ratified that yet. I know I went over our projections and we met your goals at your last meeting. I mean the town government side. If the Board of Ed does not ratify that, what is there an idea of a fallback position? I mean, where do we go from there? We're all hopefully getting ready for a public hearing on the budget presentations, and we've already put out a budget book. But I was I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was that the Board of Ed has not actually validated that cut, the proposed cut.
So I guess I'm not sure exactly. I think our last word is the night of the hearing. We can discuss, how we feel about things right now. We presented the cuts that we, thought were necessary at that meeting.
Yep.
But we can discuss, what we're feeling about this. And then I guess the hearing night, that's our last opportunity to really say, hear from the public. Hopefully people show up and, go from there.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, if you have a suggestion,
No, I don't have a suggestion. I just, it was a bit of a dilemma because I don't recall being faced with that in the past.
yeah,
It happened 2 years. It happened 2 years ago, Bill.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think your concern is that they come back and they don't want to make those cuts. Is that what you're concerned about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that we
I guess-
presented a budget plan
Right.
anticipating those cuts.
Right. And well, they don't really have a choice, so to speak. And that's kind of my position. And I can't speak for everybody, but we gave them what we, if for lack of a better term, are offering. And if they come back with something different, then they have the opportunity at the public hearing to present it, I guess, as the public. And then the Board of Finance has the opportunity to discuss it at the meeting following, because that's when we make the final determination.
Okay.
Correct.
So my position is that if they come back with something different, then they have some explaining to do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, because Craig already agreed on the, in the last minutes of, I think it was the last minute or the meeting
At
before.
that meeting, he did.
He
Yeah, but he
agreed.
can't speak for the board though. Yeah, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I've been privileged and I've got some public input myself about concerns because I know there's discussions of some layoffs up there and some other issues that I think are being discussed as we're speaking here now. And I just don't really know how that's going to be received. But
So they should be giving us some information. I would think prior to the hearing, if anything changes, right? Because we can't have it that night, all of a sudden popped on us.
well, I'm sure we'll be hearing pretty quick. I think Christina had her hand up. I interrupted her. I jumped
Christina?
in front of her.
Yeah, I mean, I just, the talk of layoffs is news to me. So that's surprising. And my understanding was when we voted, the superintendent said we can make 4.21% work. That's what I heard him say. So if that story changes, that would be very surprising to me.
Well, he might be cognizant of what's going on in the environment and, you know, I mean, he has new management. He might be rearranging things that, you know, we're unaware of.
The other problem is it's not just the superintendent that makes that decision. It's the Board of Education. So I think that's what Bill's concern is.
Yeah.
He's just worried that the Board of Education is gonna, you know, come up with something else. We can, that's what the public hearing is for,
But-
right? So,
But the public hearing is that, and we have the final say. So our position is, as a board, our responsibility is to the entire town, period. We don't look at the school, we don't look at the town, we look at everybody. So that night of the hearing is our opportunity to do whatever we need to do. So if they want to pop it in, I don't know what to tell them. You know?
I didn't mean to bring everybody down or whatever. It was just a thought I had, and I know Jane Urban had shared at least one letter with me, and I've heard from a couple of concerned residents otherwise because of rumors going around or whatever. Just thought I'd run it by you folks. Didn't want any more surprise than all of us are going to be.
Yeah, I had heard something about there were 5 staff that left from some conversation somewhere. But there were different reasons. They were like,
Yeah, I think this is a different subject though.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that works because everything got smushed together this year. So it's
It's
I
nothing
don't
to be
know.
worried about.
There's nothing to be afraid about.
Nothing,
Was
no, there's
that you,
nothing to
John?
worry about. There's nothing to worry about.
Go ahead.
Everybody has their roles in this. Our role is to come up with a dollar amount to give to them, to send to the town meeting, to the town to vote. The town agrees or disagrees with our number, and it changes from there. They don't have to tell us any changes at all. They can wait until a budget is passed by the town, and then they have to change based on whatever that number is. So, it's a strategy, whether they want to show the changes they would make now or later or not at all. But ultimately, whatever dollar amount gets passed at referendum is what they have no choice but to live with, and they'll make their changes accordingly at that point, at the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
I
think
agree.
I had mentioned before, because I did go to a couple of CABE seminars, and all of us refer to their estimates as budgets, and they're really not. It's an estimate of cost. They are unique they're the only entity in a municipal environment can change line item to line item as they please. And John's absolutely right. We come up, the town votes for a specific dollar amount, and then it's up to their good judgment to disperse that. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to stay tuned for that hearing, and hopefully, like I said, we'll get some kind of feedback from somebody from the board. You know what's going on.
Yep.
All right, any more discussion on the general budget? Nothing? Okie dokie, so we're moving on to the 2021-2022 expenditure and revenue review. Did anybody have any questions about that?
I have a statement. I
Go ahead.
neglected to get it from Cheryl so I could pass it out. So you can just skip that one, put it on the next meeting.
Well, you actually can
I
see
realized it
on the-
today when I was driving to work. I'm like, oops.
That's all right. We know
Well-
you're busy. I think you can actually see it on the website anyway. But we'll put it for the next, the next meeting is our hearing.
We have a regular meeting scheduled on the 7th, which is 2 days after that, but just whenever we meet again, other than the special meeting, yeah, we can go over.
Okay.
Really, in all honesty, I texted her real quick today just to let her know that I'll take the heat because it was me who forgot to tell her. And it really should be separate from with the budget stuff, because it's a different fiscal year. So that's what's going on now, and the budget stuff is what's going on in the future. And I think we need to focus on that right now. So,
Okay. The annual report we normally would get from Jesse, but Jesse's in the pickle on the road there, working. So we'll put that for the next meeting. So agenda items for the next meeting, we just discussed 2 of them.
Judy, I'm going to jump off. Thank you, folks.
See you
thanks,
later,
Bill.
Bill.
Have a good night.
Talk to you all soon.
Yeah, I guess we'll have more to discuss at the next meeting with the next regular meeting after the referendum. So, remarks for the good of the board. Well, we're almost there, folks. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with the school. I'm really nervous. I don't think this budget's gonna pass. I have some suggestions depending on what the public says at the hearing. That's all I have to say is thank you guys. And thanks for working hard. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Angie, I see you waving. You got a question or you say bye? Do we have a second?
John, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
See you guys.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.